G'day, Internet. Max right here, and we have one of our favorite guests on the channel, Juan Villaverde. Juan, thanks so much for joining us.
Max, great to see you, my friend.
Okay, it's been probably about a month, I think, since we spoke last, maybe even a little bit longer. I don't know.
Maybe longer, yeah, but just about a month, yeah,
Okay,
maybe.
we find you're in Colombia at the moment. You've got the
Yes.
airline headphones in. We're,
Shout out to Air Europa.
there you go. So we're doing what we need to do to get the information to the people. I love it. Let's
Right.
talk about Bitcoin. What we see, where I feel like it's a big monthly close coming up. What do you think?
Um, yeah, I agree. So there's the level that I'm. By the way, if the audio is bad at any point, just let me know, Max. But the level that I was watching is the July 28 closing high. This is just coming out of. This
Mhm.
is it's on Monday. I think it was Monday, July 28. This is after Trump's at the Bitcoin conference, which remember Bitcoin sold off quite sharply after that speech, and we had the worst sell-off in big crash. This is when Bitcoin went from like 70K to 50K in a week. So by August 5, I think it was like testing, 70K
Yeah,
late July, and by August 5, we're testing 50K. Worst crash.
yeah, confirmed.
So that high, the high after before the crash, that's what I was watching. We closed above that last weekend. I need to see my charts. So it's Friday, October 8th. We closed above that, and over the weekend, we rallied a little bit more. And Bitcoin
Mhm.
managed to close at I think 69K, just shy of 70K on Sunday, October 20th, which my model has as a high. We can get into that. But regardless, that closing is enough. I mean, because the July high is 68, the closing on the 20th of October is 69. That's above that target. That's good enough for the market. It's that if it's marginally higher, it's good enough. And that shifted Bitcoin's trend to bullish, which means we should expect new all-time highs between now and the end of the year, probably after the election. That would be, I think, between now and the election. This is late October, October 25. Between now and November 5, probably does nothing, potentially even sells off a little bit more. Great buying opportunity, if you ask me. I will be using that as a buying opportunity. I have been building up a Bitcoin position since late September, adding to my holdings. And this, to me, this consolidation we're in, which is it's looking weak right now. I thought it would go from 69K to like maybe 60 or something like that, like a good sell-off. We're not really getting that. So I'm kind of chasing the market a little bit here. I bought, I think it was Monday of this week. I think it was 21st or 22nd of October. We tested 65K. I bought a little bit there, and I thought maybe I get a chance to buy even lower. But basically, that's my mindset, just taking every dip as a buy. Now, as you know, I'm a trader. So if you're more of an investor and you're used to weekly charts or monthly charts, you've been accumulating since March, probably. For me, I'm more of a trader. So I was mostly sitting. I sold a bunch of Bitcoin throughout this correction just to buy as when the market dipped. So I would, sell the rallies, try to doing the sell-offs a little bit. I wasn't too successful at it. Just following. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And but now it's just I'm not selling, and every time that is until it goes to a new all-time high. So once it goes into a new all-time high, I'm probably gonna just trade like with options and whatever, just trying to capture some momentum, some additional momentum. But I'm done. I think most people are watching. Technically, I'm watching 69K, but since we had that closing high on October 20th at 69K, now I'm watching 70K like everyone else. Because it's only once we break that October 20 high that momentum returns. So long story short, my model is bullish, but short-term momentum is so meaning that it could pull back again between now and the election is what I think is going to happen. As you know, throughout this year, I've developed a new model for forecasting turning points, like very precise stuff. Like I nailed like a swing high on October 4, a swing low on October 4, I think, and then I had another one on the 7th, and we bounced. It's very down to the very intraday moves types forecasts, and they have worked out pretty well. And the last thing I had from this model is a high on October 20, followed by a low on November 5. Actually, it's between November 3 and November 5. So that's what I'm expecting. And where am I wrong? I'm wrong if before November 3 or 5 we see we rally past 7. That's where I'm wrong. So I'm done. At that point, I'm done accumulating. So it's good times, Max. Also, liquidity is going up. The Chinese are. That's always good when that happens.
Liquidity is starting to get really strong worldwide, isn't it? We'll get into that in a little bit. So let me say back to
Yeah.
you what I heard you say there. You're expecting November 3rd to November 5th to be a low in the cycles. We've talked about that before. It doesn't necessarily mean big dip, but that's your cycle low,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
which is just so happens to be right around election time. Yep. And then for the rest of the until the end of the year, then it should be a massive climb or a slow climb up through past the all-time highs.
Well, that's interesting. I think partly depends on the election. I think Donald Trump wins. He is seen as a pro-crypto candidate. I think it explodes, not unlike what we saw, October through January of last year.
Yeah.
Actually, if you overlay those charts, the seasonality is striking. I mean, the charts look very similar, especially when you pull up a chart of Ethereum, which I saw somebody do. The corrections that we saw this year with last year, very similar. The move out of this consolidation area that I'm expecting, also very similar. If you ask me about catalysts, I would say, well, there's two. One, US election is behind us and they're printing money, which is always the catalyst. They're printing. The reason it's not running now is because I think the election adds a bit of uncertainty. If Trump wins, it explodes higher. It's going to be ETFs, which I was going through this morning. I forgot how strong it was, especially in February of this year. It was crazy. We had like almost 10% consecutive trading sessions. We haven't seen that in forever. Well, since February. So I think it's going to add a lot of fuel to the rally. Even if he doesn't win, I think it's still going to go up. But I would say maybe less strongly. I don't really know. I also think he's going to win. So my base case is he wins, market explodes higher. But if he doesn't, I don't think it matters. It's not as strongly. We'll never know, right? If he loses, then we'll never know how much of a big rally or how much of a bigger rally.
Yeah,
So
gotcha. So let's touch base on liquidity. Liquidity cycles definitely ticking up
yeah.
all around the world. Why don't you elaborate on that a little bit?
Well, I think mostly it comes out of China, which is it's hard to get information out of China. There was a beautiful chart, which I can send to you later if you want. It shows, shout out to Raul Pala. It shows the balance sheet of the People's Bank of China overlaid with Bitcoin, since the bull market started around November of 20. Actually, the Chinese started printing money in October, alongside most central. But the Chinese have really gone for it. I mean, the balance sheet of the PBOC, People's Bank of China, it's at all-time high. And but basically, this bull market, and I mean the price action between November 2022 and now, if you overlay that Bitcoin chart with the balance sheet of the People's Bank of China, it's like an almost perfect match. I haven't done the actual correlation. It's probably above 80%. Wouldn't be surprised if it's above 90. Very clear correlation between the Chinese central bank and Bitcoin prices, which makes a ton of sense. Got a lot of anecdotes on that. I don't think it's the first time you and I talk either, because I've noticed this. I remember vividly going back to like summer of 2023. I remember a lot of movement when China opened. So China is a big player in the crypto market. The Chinese central bank is the second largest provider of liquidity in the world, and Bitcoin is very sensitive to what the Chinese are doing, which is kind of frustrating in the West because we don't get information. For example, just to give you an example, when do the Chinese stop printing money? Around March. When does Bitcoin top out? Around March. When do the Chinese start printing money again? In August. They have continued through to October. They're likely going to. Yet the headlines we were getting, people started paying attention to this. I think it was late September, early October, and they were saying, "Oh, the Chinese are getting ready for a big bazooka." And then the next week they were like, "Oh no, big disappointment out of China. They're not printing as they said they would." And this is all nonsense. They've been printing money since August. Bitcoin told you that because it started to make higher highs and higher lows. It made the post-correction low in August as the Chinese started printing money again. So they've been doing this for months. People only noticed a couple months into this printing frenzy, and they think it's not as strong, or they're saying their narrative is they're disappointing and they should do more. I respectfully disagree. They're doing plenty if you look at the balance sheet of the central bank. And also, if you just price is truth, just look at the price of Bitcoin. It has done a lot. Most of the heavy lifting tends to take place during Asian trading hours, not US trading hours. In fact, it's funny how that works, because what I've noticed also, and this is just an anecdote, I can't even point to specific sessions, although October 7 is one for those who want to look. Bitcoin rallies strongly during Chinese trading hours, and as soon as the market opens in the US, Bitcoin dumps and it ends the day down, which means there's a bit of a different view of the world, us here in the West and the people in. And this is because, again, China is going through its own 2008 financial crisis moment right now, only it's twice as big as it was in the West. It's $50 trillion estimate. It's an impossible problem to fix. I don't think you can fix it with printing money, even though I have been known to advocate for money printing here and there. I don't think printing money is going to solve China's problems right now. They're too big. Yet they are printing, and it is leading to a capital flight out of China. So whenever they print, I think the Chinese investors look at themselves, they look around and they go, well, they're going to fix this through inflation, probably. And so whenever the Chinese Communist Party prints money, capital flees, and they buy three things mainly. They buy Bitcoin, they buy gold, they buy dollar. That's it. And just look at the trend in those three markets. All three are bullish. Well, maybe not the dollar, but against the yuan, it is. But gold and Bitcoin, bull markets on both. And it's coming out mostly out of the East, although we're going to see some printing out of the Fed pretty soon. They're lowering rates, what have you. But this has mostly been, so far, a history of money printing coming out of China. That's it. And the Fed has been neutral, let's say, especially in 2024. They haven't removed a lot of liquidity. They haven't added liquidity. They're just sitting on it. And then nobody else matters. It's just China, US, nobody else matters.
Yeah, just go back. Just went back and revisited that gold chart. I mean, that is a really impressive cup and handle there. Yeah, I mean, gold. I mean, we're at $2,700. Like,
yes,
if you're at home, so I've been a gold advocate for over a decade, and to just see it just like get smacked down and smacked down and smacked down, and see push through that 2,000 and then just climb to 2,700 like that. And if you look at the chart, it's just a beautiful cup and handle. Yeah, I mean, and if whatever gold does, Bitcoin's going to outperform significantly. I think we're both agreed on that one.
100%. And gold is having one of the best years, but many years, maybe decades. Somebody can fact check.
I can believe that pretty easy just looking at it.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's having an impressive.
And I do want to jump back for the audience and just state something. Because I love having Juan on. As he said at the top of the show, he's a trader, which means in and out. It's so much more exciting and interesting than talking to the boring old investors like me. But just, so we have some new clients who come on. They don't necessarily know that. So I just want everyone to know that, the Success Council position, my position, is that we are in accumulation years. Like this last year, this year, it's just accumulate. You're just getting as much as you can, because what they call the banana zone is coming up soon. I can't give you an exact date. I don't know exactly, but it's all to do with liquidity cycles. It's all to do with money printing from all around the world. And a lot of it is to do with the cycle of debt. People need to recycle their debt. When companies go bankrupt, when economies just get hit by recession hard, usually the cause of it is that debt is expiring and you have to go and refinance the debt. And if liquidity is tight and people who, like, I have $100 million loan, but I've got to pay back that $100 million. They never pay it back. What they do is they get a new loan. If they can't get the new loan, then just companies left and right start going bankrupt. That's how commercial finance works. And so they have to make lending easy every so often in the cycle, and we are coming up to that. When they do that, they make an abundance of money through debt creation. That is what we're talking about with liquidity cycles. And that's when these hard assets like Bitcoin and gold, that's when they usually do very, very well. And we're just on the cusp of that right now. The liquidity is started in China, started in other places, but it will be the entire world over very, very, very soon. So just to be clear for Success Council guys, it is time to be accumulating Bitcoin. This is going to be one of your last chances to get it under $70,000. That's happening.
Beautifully said, my friend. Beautifully said. I don't have anything more to add to that except that one thing. Where we started, where I said we had this breakout above the July top. All right. There's over a 90% probability that we see new all-time highs after that signal between now and the end of over a 90% probability. It's the strongest signal that I know of in Bitcoin based on it failed only twice in history. Once was COVID, and another one was during the 2022 bear market, which was very easy to see. We were in a bear market. I got the buy signal. The COVID one, yeah, sometimes things fail. But I mean, that's a pretty impressive track record. And you don't get this often. You don't often see these consolidations in Bitcoin during a bull market. And once Bitcoin breaks out of that pattern, again, according to my work, it broke out of that in late September, and it confirmed that a couple of weeks. That has an over 90% probability of follow through, even though it doesn't, price is going to explode and always do that. But yeah, I'm pretty confident that we're in the last stage. The rocket is about to take off.
And I mean, it's been a beautiful bull flag.
Yeah,
it has been. It looks like it. It looks like that's what it should do. If it's just to be boring old, yeah, it should be. And even I saw the other day someone looked at a Wyckoff accumulation chart, and it
Yeah,
seemed
I've
to be
seen people do that. Yeah, apparently it's working very well. I'm
looking
not,
really, really good.
I don't know.
All right, now let's go altcoins a little bit. Do you want to touch base on your feelings on the general altcoin market? And if you want to mention any specific coins, go for it.
All right, so altcoins. Well, I mean, I'm just gonna say if we do accelerate into this new rally, which yes, I do think it's starting based on what Bitcoin is doing, altcoins should do well. Now, I'm always hesitant to speak specifically about the altcoins because they're very hit and miss. I don't think we had an altcoin season up until this point, barring meme coins and a few other select assets, which Solana is the one that stands out at this point. We can just a second here. But I would say, even though I do think the altcoins are going to start doing well as Bitcoin breaks out, typically during this phase of the cycle, we're entering, I would say maybe the final year, maybe 18 months. So we've had basically half of the bull market is behind us, the other half is still upcoming. During that phase of the bull market, the altcoins tend to do much better, a lot better. Now every cycle is different, so let's wait and see. I do think that you can outstanding returns if you pick the right altcoin. I'm invested in memes, Max. I have like 3 of them. I have Bonk, I have WIF, I have Pepe, Ethereum. The Solana meme coin space is pretty interesting. I will say this as a trader, the liquidity and the price patterns on some of the altcoins are remarkably strong. I'm talking it's making new all-time highs while the rest of the space is consolidating. I'm saying it barely comes down and then they come back up. So specifically, Pepe has a very strong charting pattern. Again, as a trader, I look at patterns. It makes no sense to me, but very strong. Very, very, very strong. Whereas Bitcoin or especially Ethereum was a dog. So whereas Ethereum was basically collapsing 50% down from the high, this thing, yeah, it's a meme coin, right? So I think it went down maybe 40%, which is less than Ether. But when you consider that it's already down at 10x since the low, okay, a 50% correction doesn't sound so bad. I think the most have been down at maybe 30% Pepe allocation, which I deployed early last year. So I'm up a lot. WIF also looks strong, although not as strong as Solana's chart. The reason I'm comparing these is Pepe is a meme coin on Ethereum, WIF is a meme coin on Solana. What I like to see to buy a meme coin is I want to see it outperform the chain it's on. So if Pepe is doing better than Ethereum, then if I'm bullish on Ethereum, maybe I'll throw some Pepe. If I'm bullish on Solana, I'll look at Bonk and WIF. These are the main 2 ones. There's another one, but I forget it's a cat. They're not as strong, actually. They look good because Solana's chart looks good, but they don't look as strong, which means the personally altcoin that I'm most invested in at this point is Solana. In fact, I'll say this. I'm basically all Bitcoin, over 50% Bitcoin at this point. I think I'm 2/3 Bitcoin, and the rest is just spread out across altcoins. But my biggest position is Solana out of all the altcoins. And I would say it's, you have Bitcoin first. I think it is 2/3. Let's say another 20%, or maybe, I don't know, maybe 20, 30. It changes all the time, but 20, 30%. Sol, 5 to 10%, whatever can fly, whatever I think can fly. Shout out to Sui. I got that one from Raul on Twitter. It's done great. I placed a trade on it, doubled my money. I got out. I don't know. Maybe I'll come back. It looks like it's gonna do good. I also, these are just trades. I don't even think you can accumulate. They do not have a good track record throughout the 4-year cycle. Meaning they do great during the bull run, and then they absolutely collapse during the bear market, and most of them never come back. So if you're considering altcoins, just a piece of advice for you all, do not hold past the 4-year cycle high. So once I'll come here and tell you when I think the 4-year cycle high is in, and do not have any altcoins once that moment, whether you follow me or anybody else. If you think that the bull market has topped out, you should have 0 altcoins. It's okay to still hold Bitcoin, which is why it has a special place in my heart, because Bitcoin is one of those things that even if you suck at trading, it still makes you look good. It still makes you, all you have to do is hold on to it and wait for that refi cycle to kick into high gear. Boom, Bitcoin goes up. That cannot be said of any altcoin. Up until now, we had Ethereum, which was kind of mimicking Bitcoin's performance. But then 2024 came, it lost 50% of its value. It's trading at 2,000 and change now. And I don't know. So far, Bitcoin stands alone as the only crypto asset that cycle after cycle after cycle will deliver all-time high and triple-digit return. That's it. They're altcoins. You have to be a trader. You have to rotate. You have to rotate. You have to be aware of what's hot this season. Oh, it's Solana. That's Solana season. I'm pretty sure 4 years from now, we're not going to be talking about Solana. We're going to be talking about something else. And I don't think it's going to be Sui. It's going to be something else.
Yeah,
Because that's
I
the
agree
altcoin
completely.
market.
Yeah, that Ethereum chart looks like a dog, actually. That Ethereum
Looks
chart is
awful.
weak.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
for what it's worth, my portfolio is over 90 Bitcoin.
There you go.
And
That's what it should be.
and then my next biggest one would be Thorchain.
Oh, Thorchain's good.
And then Solana, and I haven't dicked around with the memes.
Oh, I mean, they're just trade. I mean, I actually looked at my portfolio because I've done well with meme coins. I looked at my portfolio of meme coins the other day, and I have a decent amount of money in there. But it didn't start that way. It was big, less than 1% of my portfolio. Maybe it sits at 5.
Yeah.
So I've done well with me. I've done pretty well.
Good,
but again,
good.
I'm a trader.
That's critical. That's critical for everyone to understand. If you're going to be in the world of meme coins, you need to be a trader. You can't be an investor. I don't think it's too in and out, hit and miss, up and down, and you need to be a trader in there. And if you have the skills that Juan has, go for it. For me, it's not where I like to spend my time. If I spend all my time looking at charts, I'd go nuts. That's not my personality.
I'll add more to that, Max. I had this thought. I think it was yesterday. Only reason I allow myself the luxury of being like 30, maybe sometimes 40% invested is because I'm a trader. So I will get out long before these charts break down and you get the. At one point, I even liquidated my Solana position and then I reloaded it low. So I even traded around of my Solana position during this correction, which was pretty strong. And even then, I would still trade. The reason I do that is because I don't want to be caught in these 99% crashes where you never see your money. And that's why I allow myself to be more heavily invested into the altcoins because I'm trading them. I'm very aware that these are not buy and hold investments. The only thing I hold on through cycle after cycle, not 100% of my allocation, but maybe 30% is Bitcoin. That's it. That's the only one that I'm confident in holding cycle after cycle because it already has the proven track record of hitting the all-time highs every cycle, and it's already done that this side. We already went to new. Technically speaking, that's good. That's what you want to see. No other altcoin has done that. Even Solana, it hasn't hit an only Bitcoin and a few others. Yes, the new stuff.
Well, I think it's really important that Bitcoin has no competition. It is in a class of its own. Whereas Ethereum and Solana, they all have dozens and dozens of competitors. And so those narratives and gas fees and network saturation and all those kinds of things ebb and flow. If Bitcoin hits like network saturation and fees spike or whatever, it's not like, well, we'll go somewhere else for our story, but we don't have the alternatives. So Bitcoin weathers all of those storms, whereas in all of the altcoin dimensions and verticals, there's just so many competitors in each, and just people are especially influencers have so much power. It's like, here we go. Here, the gas fees went up on this. Here's an opportunity. I'll get me and my 3 influencer friends to say we're all shifting over here. We buy in early. They convince the masses to come in here, and they make stupid good money doing that. I don't think it's particularly ethical, particularly nice, but that's what happens. And so you've just got people itching to come up with the next best thing. But in Bitcoin, there is no alternative, so you just don't have to deal with that. So for long-term investors, to me, it's just the best place to grow your wealth tax-free. You buy Bitcoin, you forget about it, you come back 10 years, and you're stupid rich. So that's the easy one. We do the altcoins and stuff just for shits and giggles and to stay on playing in the casino as well. So why don't we leave it there, Juan? Thank you so much for joining us. I hope to speak to you again next month.
Absolutely, my friend.
Take care.